Hey everyone, welcome to Creative Union Yoga. I'm Julia, and today we are at it again. We are at Downward Dog once again, and we're going to work with some modifications in Downward Dog so that you can find a modification that works for you, specifically for you, so that you can reap the benefits and enjoy the pleasures of Downward Dog in your body. Okay, so get into something cozy and comfy, and let's get a barkin'. So here we are, Downward Dog modifications. Okay, so we can start with a folded blanket, a rolled up towel, or you can use a folded blanket, whatever you have. You don't have to go buy any fancy props. You can use what you have in your house. So you're gonna roll up a towel and you're gonna place it behind you. And again, you might have to shift it around a few times to find that money spot. So again, when we're coming into our downward dog, finding our foundation, establishing our foundation from the ground up. And again, as I pour that weight in the lower body, so pour the weight of the pelvis into my legs, as I come up and start to take the knees off and extend the legs. And again, my heels don't quite make it to the ground. I can let them rest on something. I can start to elevate the ground. Yeah, so it's always useful to have some kind of support underneath the body, parts of the body that are hovering and feel like it's holding or there's strain. Because ultimately, if we add the support, we can let the bones start to rest into that support, so the musculature around the bones can start to soften, and the entire structure, the entire body can just start to let go. Okay, so again, here's one option for the heels. Again, depending on how much the heels come off the ground, you can keep stacking up your support. Okay, and even if the heels are resting, again, I don't need to jam those knees. Let them be soft. And then continue to always using the backhand, always let the weight of that pelvis fall into the legs, legs to heels, heel to the support. Yeah, and it's dropping away. The sacrum, the tailbone, the pelvis is dropping away from the skull away from the pelvis. And again, I can come in and out. So there is the option for the heels. I can do the similar thing or a similar thing with my wrists to decrease the flexion. If there's too much flexion in the wrist and it's exhausting, tiring, maybe sore, any kind of discomfort whatsoever, what I can do is place that rolled up blanket or towel in front of me and place the heel of the palm, on the towel, and let, it's almost like you're cupping the towel, like so, yeah. And then same thing here. I'm gonna use the weight of the lower body to take me up, and I'm only going to use the bones. I shouldn't say only. Things will engage again as they need to, but I'm going to, when I'm moving in downward dog and when I'm resting in downward dog, I'm going to support through the bones of the arms rather than squeezing and holding. So pour into that lower body and support through the bones so that alone takes pressure off of the wrists and the hands. Okay, starting to decrease the flexion. Good. And there are some fancy props you can find for your wrists in downward dog or any kind of position on the hands, but you really don't need them. You don't need to spend all that money. Yeah, be creative. You can even just fold another yoga mat if you have, or you can even fold your current yoga mat. Yeah, if you need a little extra sticky grip. Yeah, so grounding through the heels and grounding through those hands, the heel of the palm. Good, head drops. Good, good, good. Okay, so that's one option for the wrists. The other option could be coming onto the elbows and forearms. Now this requires a little more release in the shoulders. It's a bit more intense for the upper body. So if you need to do a little more shoulder release, I do have a video. It's quite lengthy, so you can do bits and pieces of it or the whole thing, and it really releases the upper body. So I'll put that link in the description of this video. But again, same thing, playing around with your distance of the elbows to the legs. Yeah, seeing if you can keep the arms as parallel as possible to each other. Okay, shoulder width apart. Same thing, exhale, pour the weight into that lower body. Yeah, so there's a little more weight into the upper body here on my elbows. Yeah, that's okay, but again, support through the bones. Don't think musculaturely. Think of bones, bones, bones. If you need to place something under the heels, do that. Yeah. Good, good, good. Keep that head heavy and dangly. Try not to look up. It'll strain a little more in the neck. Yeah. So drop the skull. Good. Okay. So there is your forearm option. So another thing we can do for our wrists in downward dog is we can go up on our fists, which actually kind of is a fun little experiment. So I encourage you to try it even if you're fine on your hands. It's actually kind of fun. So making those fists, yeah, placing the fists, the hands where it feels comfortable. Again, alignment is important, but not if I'm experiencing so much tension and I'm forcing my body into a perfect alignment. Yeah, allow the musculature to release the tension, and then the alignment will come. So if it feels forced and you need to turn the hands in a little bit or shoulders in a little bit, that's okay. So again, make those fists and then curl the toes under. Yeah, walk those fists in a little closer to the legs. Heavy head, heavy skull. Exhale, pour the weight of the pelvis into the legs, legs to heels, heels to ground. Yeah, so I'm always trying to utilize that lower body. Keep reiterating that. And the exhale on the movement, yeah? Big, strong, out breath. Almost like you're pouring, there's like a tipping of water in the pelvis. Like if you imagine there's water in the pelvis and you're pouring the water into the legs. And that helps you float up, if you can think of floating up into downward dog. And that will take time, but even if it feels like work, keep breathing through it. Keep using the powerful lower body muscles. Lower body, lower body. They're heavier bones. Good. Good, good, good. Now, another beautiful option for downward dog, if you don't want to invert too much, there are two different ways we can do this. A trusty chair. The chair is your friend. So I can place the chair on the mat so that it doesn't slide. Okay. And again, I can either go onto the forearms or come onto the hands. And if you want to grip the side of the chair, that's fine too. Or if you want to place the hands right on the chair, you can come up as you would from the ground. Yeah. Or if it's more appealing, you can roll down and place the hands on the seat of the chair here, finding a nice, good position for the hands so you feel stable. And then just walk the feet a little bit away. Yeah, and again, I can keep the knees bent if I'd like, or straighten them a little bit. But again, it's not about jamming. Soft knees, even if they're extended and straight, even if the legs are straight, soft knees. Good. And again, can I drop the pelvis into the legs? Yeah, and think of here, you want to think even more spinal elongation. So that skull is lengthening away from the tailbone as the pelvis drops. Yeah. So there's my downward dog on the chair. Or I can also come onto the forearms. So again, this may be useful if you don't want to place the hands on the ground, or if you don't want to be too flipped over. This is a great start if you have tight hamstrings as well, so you can gradually work your way down to the ground. So it's all geared towards your comfort level, what suits you in this moment in time. Yeah. So yes, we want to push ourselves a little bit, but we also don't want to go past what our body is capable of doing in the moment. You want to slowly work your way there. Have the patience, because that will increase and encourage longevity, rather than if I force myself and pull something, then I have to wait forever for it to heal, and then you kind of have to start from scratch again. Okay, so take your time. Find what feels right for you. Now, the other option for downward dog is at the wall. So let's come over to the wall and we can practice some downward dog at the wall, and I'll show you how we can do that. Okay? Okay, so here we are, downward dog at the wall. You can choose to use your mat or not. I'm just gonna fold the mat there. I'm gonna use just my bare feet on the ground. I just place my hands somewhere on the wall, and I can start to walk the feet behind me. You can angle it if you'd like, or come completely, take the legs completely under you. It all depends on what feels most comfortable for you. But what we're looking for again is, can I pour the weight of the pelvis into the legs, legs to feet, feet to ground. Those heels really dropping down, feeling for that entire footprint, sinking into the earth. Yeah, and I can gently push away from my hands to feel the weight pour into the lower body. Again, I can walk the feet a little further away. Yeah. And then again, go for skull lengthening away from tailbone, pelvis lengthening away from the skull, tailbone lengthening away from the skull. Good. Excellent. So just find what feels more comfortable for you. So there you have it. There is another modification for downward dog at the wall. The wall is a fantastic tool, fantastic support system to help us experience all the benefits of a posture, and if we find it challenging to be on the ground. So again, awesome, awesome tool. So it's not a negative thing. Just because you use the wall, it doesn't mean you're not good at yoga. That's a bunch of BS, okay? There's no such thing as being good at yoga. It's being good to yourself is the whole point, Okay, so use support as you need it. I use it all the time just to help me relax more, because it just helps me tap in and let go a little easier. Okay, so the final way I can practice downward dog, modification in downward dog, if I don't want to go from the ground up, if I find that it's challenging to pour weight into the lower body because of any knee discomfort or knee restrictions, I can always start from standing. Okay, so that is another option aside from the chair and the wall. So I can start from standing. I can start to roll down, drop the chin, feel the weight of the skull fall forward, rolling the shoulders down, bend those knees, bend, 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 soften the knees. And once I get closer to the ground and my hands begin to find the ground, I can then begin to walk the hands out a little further in front of me. And again, I can decide where the positioning of the hand is, so long as I'm not straining in the upper body if I walk too far, and if this feels a bit too much in the upper body. Just walk the hands out as far as it feels comfortable to ground through the heels, or pour that intention and weight into the lower body. Okay. Fantastic. And you can, of course, eventually walk the hands back to the legs, plant the feet, ground the heels, bend the knees, drop the pelvis, drop the skull, and rolling back up. And then you can choose to repeat it a few times, rolling up and down, which actually can be quite lovely for the spine. Okay. So that is the final modification I have for you today. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a ton of options you can choose from, or you do have a ton of options. You can choose one and find the right one for you and practice that for a while. And then eventually things may start to free up and you can explore a different modification or variation. So I'll leave that to you. And stay tuned, because there is a video on downward dog, another one, woof, woof, on the variations, different variations we can do. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like and share the video. Think love, speak love, be love. Namaste.